want to briefly say that in my own career as a professional investor, I have found that to make the big money or avoid the big loss, often you have to adopt a contrarian view and act on it. By going against the popular wisdom, that's how you can basically make the big money. Yeah. To some extent, investing is a game of called surprises. You play the surprises. The market information and pricing reflects all that is known. So you can develop an advantage by forming a view that is not so well known or not so widely expected. So you go against the consensus. On Sino-American relations, we do have a contrarian view. We do have a view that go against the popular consensus. What is the consensus? Here is a very recent article. I just lifted it from the New York Times, basically saying that China and America, the tension is really, really very high. If I just saw a few minutes ago, checking the news, that there's now news reports that China may even impose visa restrictions on American officials based in Hong Kong. So that's how serious it is. And here's another interesting article I lifted from the recent South China Morning Post that actually claims that Trump may need to provoke a war with China in order to increase his election chances to above 50%. Right now, according to this analyst quoted in a newspaper article, this his own opinion, it's an analyst based in Shenzhen, Trump's chances of getting re-elected is something like 30%. So the two sides have very strong ill feeling and suspicions about one another, that's for sure. But when you really look at the effects of the relationship, some interesting points quickly emerge, which leads me to think that, in fact, after the US elections, a recovery may well take place in the Sino-American relationship, something that the market is not currently expecting. The truth is, neither China nor America can afford a long-term breakdown in their relationship. In the United States, the country is facing its worst domestic crisis since World War II, since 75 years ago. According to the Wall Street Journal, 8 out of 10 Americans believe the US is now moving out of control. And as I mentioned earlier, American economic growth is likely to be negative 8% this year. This is a very serious crisis indeed. I personally think that when you objectively look at all the facts and figures, a Sino-American partnership is a logical and compelling solution for the world's numerous problems. American dependence on China can be quickly summarized in terms of China as a supplier of goods and services, China as a supplier of credit, China as a huge, the fastest growing market for US products and services, China as a source of students, tourists, and talent for the United States. Can America fight a national crisis and fight with its most important foreign partner at the same time? My best guess is the answer is no. The no will come when both sides calm down a little bit past this presidential election year. In fact, you may be surprised to hear that amid all this tension, China remains America's biggest trading partner. China is buying 2/3 of American soybean exports. China and America together make up 42% of the world's economy, 52% of global defense spending, 43% of carbon emissions. 31% of the growth in global consumer spending every year now originates from only one country, China. So, and also on top of that, the politicians like to talk about the trade imbalance between the two countries. But we examine the figures that are publicly available. In fact, it indicates that the total economic relationship between these two countries are roughly in balance. There's not much of a deficit. Once you include all these American products sold in China to the Chinese, but controlled by American companies. Products like iPhone, Tesla, and GM cars, Starbucks. These products are manufactured in China and sold to Chinese consumers. If you include them as part of the total relationship, the relationship is very roughly balanced. There's no real disadvantage to America. So, and on top of that, the two countries are converging actually in their systems. They are more and more alike. The US increasingly is making use of state capitalism, especially as it tries to rescue its economy and its people from the pandemic, while China is increasing the space for free markets. In many ways, two countries are complementary powers, not competitive powers. For China's point of view, friendship with America is actually quite important because China has a very strong vision of where it wants to be in the long term, the medium term, and the short term. The country really needs stability, a period of peace and access to global markets. And the one country that can disrupt China's vision, the one country is America. So it's very important to have America on China's side, if at all possible. I would say that the fundamental point about both countries is that they are very concerned about their national security. And it will become very evident that national security is economic security. Economic security meaning the livelihood of the people, access to trade, access to good housing, opportunities. And I think in the case of the US, economic security increasingly is difficult to achieve without cooperation with China. So I will conclude by saying that even if tensions with the US, well, put it this way, it's an either-or thing. There are only two possibilities. One for China is that tensions with America will remain very high, in which case there will be decoupling between the two countries. In that event, I think China continues to offer strong investment opportunities. But if we are right and relationships between the two countries recover, Chinese markets will enjoy a huge re-rating. Currently, Hong Kong and foreign investors own less than 4% of Chinese stocks and bonds. There's a lot of people who are potentially buyers of these instruments, regardless of the scenario. But if there really is a recovery in the relationship between these two countries, then there will be quite a lot of room for foreign interest in China to increase by significant margin. Thank you.